My name's Grant Cardone, 7 books, 13 best-selling business programs. We have 7 businesses. I came from nothing, okay? Nothing. When I say nothing, let me explain nothing to you. Brought up by a single mother, no money, no connections, and a college degree, which came with it $40K in debt. Could not get a job. You want to make it bad now? Drug addict, 135 pounds. I weighed 170 this morning when I weighed in. I was weighing 135 pounds. I had no money. No self-esteem. My twin brother didn't want to have anything to do with me. My sisters knew they couldn't depend on me. Check this out. My mom was in the hospital. My sister, because I lived in Lake Charles where my mom was, my sister was going to call me to say, go check on mom, and didn't because she knew I probably wouldn't show up. I hated myself. People around me didn't like me. Nobody trusted me. I didn't trust myself. So if you're beat up in life, man, if you're maybe just running into me for the first time, or if you've heard, oh, Grant Cardone's, he's showing off in his plane. I have a plane today. I have a fancy car. Like, I have an unbelievable life today. I got a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids, but it wasn't always like that with me. Okay, I've been beat up, 70 stitches put in my head and face. So you look at me right now and you're like, oh, the dude's got a studio, he's in there, he's talking, he's confident. Not always like this. Lost my first my 5 jobs. McDonald's. Got fired from McDonald's. Lost a job in a clothing store. Lost a job in a furniture store. Got fired from a refinery. Been thrown out of bars for getting drunk and passing out. Been beat up more times than I can tell you. The principal of my high school told my mother that I couldn't win dog catcher. So if you can relate to any of that, if you've been beat up, beat down, okay, if you don't have any money right now, if you don't have a job right now, if you're struggling, if you're getting the short end of everything, I totally understand. So you got to make a decision tonight if you're going to learn how to negotiate. Because life is a series of negotiations. If you don't learn this, it won't matter how much money you make. Almost every major transaction that takes place in your life will be a negotiations. Everything you do. In life, you do not get what is fair. You do not get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. In life, you get what you negotiate, not what you deserve. Life is not fair. This is what I had to wake up to at 25 years old. I'm like, dude, I'm getting the short end of every deal. Every single deal. I buy a car, I get taken advantage of. I rent a house, I get taken advantage of. Everywhere I went, I was being taken advantage of. So I had to start understanding. A man told me once, he's like, Grant, I said, man, I'm praying. I started cleaning my life up. I'm not using drugs anymore. And I'm still losing, dude. I went to college and I'm still losing, right? I'm intelligent and I'm losing. I got people around me that are criminals and they're winning. I got guys that have bad grades and they're winning. I got guys that are dumb and they're winning. Everybody was winning around me but me. And then the guy said, look, the nice guy doesn't win, bro. Best negotiator wins. Nice guy doesn't win. Best service doesn't win. Lowest price doesn't win, whether you believe it or not. The best negotiator will be the winner. That's who wins in politics. That's who wins in business. That's who wins in the boardroom. That's who wins the negotiating table. That's who wins in debates, in audits, in the courts. The best negotiator always wins the deal. Who can tell the best story? Who can tell the best story when they're buying a house, getting a mortgage, making an investment, getting a job, hiring somebody, doing a contract, getting a pay raise, buying a car, selling a car, leasing a building, vendor contracts. In all things business, negotiating is required. Negotiating is required, by the way, by the buyer and the seller. Now, some of you know me because I've been teaching sales. We've sold companies, major sales organizations, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of sales training over the years. But what you don't know is that you got to know how to negotiate as a buyer. You're going to be on one side or the other. When you're buying a house, imagine this. If I could negotiate, the average person I think buys 3 homes in their lifetime. Dumb purchase, by the way. Imagine if you could save 5%, just 5% on every home purchase. The home you live in right now. In Miami, the average home is about $400,000. If I could just save 20%, I could save $400,000 if I just didn't buy it. I would save myself $20,000, 3 times $60,000. What about the mortgage? Oh, by the way, this mortgage is going to be $400,000. See, a lot of people think negotiating doesn't involve them. My mom didn't know how to negotiate. So every time that she hired a landscaper to cut the grass, she thought she was going to get beat. Every time she went to the mechanic to have the car fixed, she was certain, and by the way, she was taken advantage of. So let's say I'm going to get a mortgage on this house at $380,000. I put $20,000 down. What if I could get just a half of point over 30 years, 360 months. I don't know what that would amount to. What's a half a point? 0.005 on $380,000. Probably like $150 a month, $1,800 a year or something. $1,900. Look how fast I got there. $1,900 a year times 30. Not $1,900. See, it's $1,900 a year times 30 years. $57,000. So I just saved $20,000, by the way, on the purchase. I saved 57 grand on the mortgage. I could afford to pay more money for the house if I knew how to negotiate the mortgage. I know a little something about mortgages. I've done $500 million worth of mortgage transactions. $500 million that I have debt on. So every time I'm in a deal, I'm negotiating how to get an eighth of a point off, a quarter of a point off, a 12th of a point off, anything to drop that over 30 years. What about when you make investments? Okay, a friend of mine, Dale Christensen, invested in apartments that I was with. We did a partnership where he became the sweat equity on a deal, where I hired him to be the sweat equity partnership in a real estate transaction, and I needed to put a deal together, a contract for him and me. I did that without a lawyer. That protected myself. Again, we're going back to negotiating. How are you going to negotiate a house, a car, a partnership? You're going to do all this stuff, okay? How are you going to negotiate a vendor that you're going to pay for? The bills around here, okay? I got to hire a guy. I want to hire an SEO company. What is the best deal for me and what is the best deal for them? How are you going to simply negotiate a pay raise? Nobody teaches you this in college. People are paying $40,000 a year to go to college, and they don't even have a course on how do I get a damn raise. Just a raise. I was making 60 grand. I want to make sense of 6,600. I want to go from 60 grand to $66,600. How do I do that? It's called the gap, by the way. I should add that to the list. I'm not even covering the gap tonight. I have hundreds of these. You're going to buy a car, sell a car, you're going to lease a building. You know, when you lease a building, if you some of you out there that own a business, I'd love to know how many business owners are here. Or maybe in comments, put what you do. Maybe you're running a business. Maybe you're working your business out of your home, and you're like, man, I got to get more square footage. I'm going to have to go lease a building. There's a thing called tenant improvements on a building. Okay? Are you going to get $5 per square foot for the improvements? Tenant improvements. Are they going to spend $5? Are you going to have a 5-year lease, a 7-year lease, or a 10-year lease? How are you going to negotiate it? How do you negotiate? How do you negotiate with somebody that's doing this every single day and you're doing it once every 7 years? I could make a deal right here. The difference between $5 of TI and $7 of TI, tenant improvements, is millions of dollars to that building and to making my office look better and not costing me any money. Signing a 10-year lease to a 7-year lease or a 5-year lease, dude, that's all the difference in the world. I'd like to get this down to 3 years and have some options to get a 10-year price. But again, you're like, dude, I'm not even thinking like this. I'm going to share with you the secrets of negotiating like a professional, okay, like a master. Like bring the buyer to zero, or what we call ground zero. How to bring somebody back to ground zero. The decision phenomenon, the Genghis Khan strategy, takeaways. I'm going to show you how to use takeaways. I'm going to show you how to literally bring a guy back, sit down with him, and do what's called a role reversal. We're going to flip roles. I'm going to walk in his shoes. What's that called? Walk in another man's sandal. I'm going to share with you the pregnancy negotiation, or also called the first base strategy, and a lot more. So first, let me tell you why I'm qualified to do this, if you don't know who I am. In the last 30 years, I have bought homes, I've leased cars, leased homes. I've done luxury retreats for a month in a place in Park City where they wanted $15,000 a night and negotiated that deal. They wanted $450,000 and I stayed there for $125,000. I got a discount from $450,000 down to $125,000. I've negotiated $1,000 recurring subscription agreements where people didn't want to sign contracts with me. I have files, like hundreds of files of people that pay me thousands, $6,000 a month, $10,000 a month on recurring subscriptions. How would you like to have that? Consulting fees, $100,000 retainers, promotional agreements that are worth millions, partnership agreements, 3 divorce settlements, all of which took less than 24 hours, 2 of which were worth millions, hundreds of millions, and more. I negotiated those divorce settlements in less than 24 hours in all 3 cases when they had been tied up with attorneys for years. I've negotiated $1 billion worth of real estate deals, sweat equity deals. I've negotiated $400 million worth of debt, $60 million in legal settlements. Because if you get successful, and I believe you will end up in the courts. Someone will sue you for something. I have personally, professionally, and successfully negotiated 4 tax audits, 2 with the state of California and 2 with the federal government, and won them all. I don't want to come off as cocky or arrogant or I know it all. I don't know it all. Like, there's a lot of things I don't know anything about. But when we get to this space of negotiating, I know negotiations so well. I know where I'm at in a deal. I know the timeline. I know whether time's on my side or on their side. You have to know that. How to use the white flag. It's a surrender technique when you're negotiating. It's very, very powerful. And you will probably use it in every negotiations you're in order to start the negotiations. And also when they bog down and when it becomes emotional, you want to use the white flag. I'm going to go over all these in a second. Number 2, back to the future. I don't even know that show, okay? Back to the future. I'm going to show you how to literally bring a guy back and bring him back into the future of a deal. So where we make a deal, but I had to bring him back first. I'll show it to you in a second, okay? Number 3, the Inquisition. I'm going to share one with you. I told Jared when I put it together, I said, I don't even know if I want to show people this. Like, it's so brutal. The one thing, in life, you got to find that one thing. And then I'm going to show you number 5. You know, there's only one thing, right, that blows the deal at the end of the deal. You can never say one thing that will blow a deal, but there's never more than one thing that keeps a deal from happening. It's called the one thing. You got to get to the one thing when you negotiate with people. The Inquisition, by the way, is about hard questions. The Inquisition is about hammering down to find out what the problem is. Like, you got to hammer down. I'm going to be going over a lot of hard questions tonight. I talk about hard questions a lot as a way to qualify, to find out, do you have the decision maker? What's the real problem? Why did they sit down with me? Why now? Why did you agree to see me, right? Like, you got to figure out how to ask hard questions in a deal. And the more sophisticated they are, the easier it is to get away with it, by the way. The less sophisticated they are, the harder this one is to pull off. It's actually contrary to people's understanding. The more advanced the negotiators in the room are, the easier it is to pull this off. The less advanced they are, the less strength they have, the harder that is to pull off, which is completely contrary to people's thinking, okay? And then there's this one. This is called the selfish child. It's why your kid gets everything he wants. It's how a kid gets spoiled, actually. The kid's neurotic, dude. The kid can't see anything but his side. He doesn't even see anything else. He's like, hey, I'm tearing this place apart if I don't get what I want. And that's why so many of you don't get what you want, because you don't know how to play the selfish child when you negotiate with people. So let's go over the first one, all right? White flag. It's called the white flag. The white flag is a surrender technique. I'll give you an example. I'm buying a guy's house, and I'm going to give you examples tonight, but this could be anything and it could be any number. I'm telling you about a real situation that happened to me. I'm buying his house, okay? I'm buying his piece of real estate. He wants $410,000 for the deal. Could be a car. This could be a Lambo, right? Could be a Rolls Royce. It could be a contract you're buying. It could be some debt that you're buying, right? Like, just imagine, what could it be? It could be a salary. By the way, why don't you guys negotiate 6 and 7 year salaries rather than 1 year at a time? Well, why does somebody with a lot of talent negotiate a $6,000 deal rather than a bigger deal for a longer period of time with some increases? Why wouldn't you, if you're really super talented, why wouldn't you say, look, I need a guarantee of $72,000 a year, plus I need a 5% increase for inflation every year. I do it in my real estate, but you can't do it for a human being. Why? Because you don't negotiate what you want, because you think people are going to be fair with you. Nobody's going to be fair with you. The planet doesn't work on fairdom. It works on what you negotiate. What you get is what you negotiated. If your life sucks, sorry. If you overpaid, sorry. If you sold it for too little, sorry. Nobody took advantage of you. The marketplace will not reward people that are not prepared. It's a brutal world out there. They don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, white or black, tall or short, skinny or fat. They don't care. They're like, hey, man, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the white flag, okay? This is great for off-market stuff, people that don't want to sell something. I'm looking at buying a business right now. I'm going to buy this guy's business. So I know what he wants for the business, so I'm going to go in and wave the white flag. I'm going to be like, look, man, I'll give you what you want for the house, the car, the business. Okay, you want the 410, I'm good at the 410. I'm going to offer them 410, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them take care of items that I need done. This puts the seller in a very, very difficult situation to say no to me, because I get to go back and say what? I need the roof fixed. I need the air conditions updated to brand new. I need the kitchen done. That's going to be 40 grand. Okay, the roof is going to be 40 grand. The AC is going to be 20 grand. And the landscaping, dude, you neglected the landscaping, my brother. Okay, I need 15 for the landscaping. So that's 15, 40, 20. That's $115,000. So we could do one or two things. You always want to give people A, B, and probably C. I'm getting advanced already with you because C is going to be ground zero. This is what we can do. I can give you 410 and you do it. I can give you 410 less the 115 and I do it. But we can go to ground zero, dog. Ground zero, I don't get your house and you don't make a sale. Dude, look, he's going to go freaky on you right now, okay? Now, this is what you need to know. Before any of these techniques that I share with you, you have to be Spock. You have to be unemotional. If you want to be enthusiastic when you're selling something or calling on somebody, that's great. When you get to the negotiations, you need to go vanilla. You need to chill completely. The reason so many people get all upset in negotiations is because you don't know what you're doing. You guys get lost. You're like, get frantic. They start accusing you. I can't believe you. I can't tell you how many deals I've been in where somebody blew up. How many times Jared has been here and seen people exploding. And I'm like, Jared, dude, it's all right, man. Everybody's freaking out. Man, I can't believe. Dude, you got to stay calm. Number one, you got to stay calm. Before the techniques, you got to, I understand, man. That's why I gave you the 410. I'm the good guy here. Wave the white flag. I'm not fighting you. I'll pay you the 410. I'll pay you the 410, okay? But look, when they come appraise this house, they're going to be like the roof, the air conditioning, the kitchen. You don't want to be the bad guy. You want to be the good guy here. In fact, I tell you what I'll do. I'll pay you $415 to make you feel good. And what else can I do for you, okay? I'll close 30 days, improve their situation now, okay? Now I'm getting advanced, all right? I can't help myself, damn it, every time I do it. So what I want to do is I want to do the white flag, plus I want to improve the situation before they ask me to. So this is what I'll do. I'll go the 410. I'll go another 15, okay? And I'll close 30 days before your next payment, which saves you another $2,000. So I'm at 410, 415, $427,000. But you got to take care of the roof. You got to take care of the air conditioning. You got to take care of that. Or we deduct that. Exchange. I talk about this in the Closed Survival Guide. Nothing happens until the deal's closed. And most deals need to be negotiated before they're closed. So that this customer, A, exchanges with B, he feels like whatever he's given over here, his pile of coins or exchange or house or whatever value he has is worth more to what this guy's getting, okay? He feels like, hey, I want what he has more than I want what I have. And so people exchange things. So I have to convince A, hey man, look, I know I'm not giving you the 410 less the 15, 285. So that's a brutal discount, right? So we're going to probably settle out somewhere in between, but you got to be in the game, okay? Your deal's made on the buy here. You can't make money on the way out if you didn't make a good deal going in. Now there's situations, I just did a deal, I'll show you this, okay? For those of you who think this won't work in insurance or sophisticated big transactions. Let's say you're selling a contract to Microsoft. You're like, man, I can't negotiate with Microsoft like that. Or I'm doing a deal with a big Fortune 50 company. The deal was $80 million. Let me tell you, these guys, they have teams of people. It was one guy and a team. And at the end of the deal got sticky, right? The deal got sticky. I'm going to show you what's called back to the future. It's number 2. Deals, remember this, deals are done when problems are solved. When problems are solved, gaps can be filled. They want 80 million. At the end of the day, secret in my mind, I want to be at 74. I'm not getting enough money. This is called the sticking point right here. I'm not getting what I wanted. It's really not about the money, by the way, particularly with a company, because it's not the individual's money, right? Listen to what I'm telling you right now. When I'm in a deal, I'm sitting down with a guy. He works for a big company. That's not his 6 million he's defending. What's he defending? He's defending his reputation. He's defending, I got to go back to the board and tell them I can't get to 80. He's got a safe face right here, okay? So what I want you to do when you're in a deal, I want you to get off the sticking points, price, difference, the terms, the contract, the problem. Get off of what appears to be the sticking point of price and terms, whatever that is. And I want you to return to the real problemo. What is the problem that you really solve when you buy this deal from him? regardless of the price. This is called back to the future. So I'm going to tell him, hey, just for a minute, I know we have this difference right here. Let's assume that all that is handled, okay? And I buy your deal. And you no longer have the deal, and now I have your deal. I now own your deal. Or you don't have anything right now, and you get my offer. What problem did I solve? When you get my offer, or I take your deal. I'm taking the guy into the future, right? Back to the future. I get your deal, and you don't have it anymore. Okay, it's gone from you, and now I have it. See, what you need to know, when you bring this guy to the future of the deal being successful over here, what you don't know is what he knows that he hadn't told you. I said, hey man, just talk to me for a second. I know this hadn't been working out. You know, we got this little difference right here. Let's put it aside just for a minute. Let's assume that we can handle it, because we can. Another little secret here. You have to be the only one that has to know for sure the deal can be made. If you're taking notes, this is critical. When you're in that deal, you have to know. Nobody else has to know this. You have to know this deal can be made. This deal can be done. We can do a deal. So for a second, let's assume that all this can be handled. Okay? Let's just bring you to the future. It's 2 months from now. I closed. I took your property away. Think for a moment. What problems have I solved for you? No problems. You haven't solved any problems for me because he's hard right now. Remember, he's not undone on the $6 million yet. We got this $6 million problem. Your job is to get him off the sticking point. Hey, let's assume we handle that. Let's assume that's gone, okay? Let's assume now we're 2 months into the future. I take this or you get mine, whatever the deal is. It can go either way. Buyer or seller, seller or buyer. I bring you to the future, I buy your deal, and you don't have that deal anymore. What problems did I solve? By the way, the first time when he says, it doesn't solve any, I guarantee he thought of 2 or 3 things. He's collecting data now. What problems did I solve for you? You didn't solve any problems. Sure I did. Or you wouldn't be selling your deal. Nobody sells anything if they don't have a problem with it. Okay? No, we just want to make a bunch of money. All right. I'm thinking ground zero right now. Ground zero is what? You're not going to be making a bunch of money. There's nobody else in here trying to buy your deal right now. It's me. I can close this deal in 2 months, man. Get him off the sticking points. What problems do I solve, okay? Just share one with me. Well, and this is what he said to me. We have closed out the rest of our fund. This actually happened to me. We have closed out the rest of our fund, and this is our last deal in the fund, and we're done. See, this wasn't about $6 million. It was about $6 billion worth of fund. He had a $6 billion fund. This was $80 million of it. Check this out. $6 billion. This was $80 million of the $6 billion, and we were disagreeing about 6. This is a throwaway. This is like, it's not even measurable money. What is it, Jared? Jared's dividing $6 million into $6 billion. It's not even 1%. Just for a minute, let's assume that all can be handled. What problem are you trying to? I think it's 0.001. It's 1/10 of 1%. Yeah, it's 0.001. Okay. So we made the deal, by the way. I closed on one of the trophy properties. Had a lady on the phone tell me yesterday, you stole that deal, dude. Stole that. I can't believe. Everybody's talking about you right now because you stole that deal. By the way, if you call the seller, they're going to say, Grant Cardone is an awesome dude. So remember this, back to the future, okay? Back to the future. Get off the sticking points. Take the guy out of the point that he's stuck on. Bring him into the future. Hey, just for a moment, let's assume that all this can be handled. Get him out of this past, this thing right now. What problem are you trying to solve? Okay, number 3, the Inquisition. Let's talk about the Inquisition. Also known as hard questions. I'm known for my hard questions. One of the questions is this: have you seen enough to make a decision? Have you seen enough to make a decision? When's the last time you invested this much money? When? Why? Have you ever? What? They all start with questions like that. They're all like, hey, when is the last time you invested this much money? When is the last time you made a decision this size? What happens if you don't do this? What's the worst thing? What is the worst thing that can happen if you don't do this? What's the worst thing that can happen if you do this? Why did you decide to see me now? Why did you agree to see me at all? Why did you let me do the presentation? I'm just curious. When is the last time, how about this? Did I do when? Yeah, I did. When is the last time you made a bad decision? When is the last time you made a good decision? What is the worst decision you've ever made in your life? This is the Inquisition. Now you could also flip this to the terms. You have to be the inquisitioner. He's going to have confidence in you because you asked the question. So I'm asking Enrico. Enrico, how big is his purchase, by the way? What's he selling?
Copiers.
Selling copiers. Dude, you guys get jacked so many times. You got to ask the questions. If you don't ask the questions, you just keep getting strung along. That's why guys in the copier business, the insurance business, the financial planning business, they say, man, our cycle's really long. Do you know this thing called deal fatigue? Deal fatigue happens because you don't ask hard questions. What's the worst thing? I asked a guy this. The contract was $1.7 million. By the way, we didn't sell it for $1.7 million. We sold it by the month. It was by the month, okay? It was like $80,000 a month across 17 locations. I'm breaking it down to the ridiculous now. And then I'm going to compare it to his other purchases. I'm negotiating with him. It's $1.7 million. I don't have any more money to give you, I'll tell you right now. I mean, if the conversation is about money, many of you that follow me have heard me use this before. I don't have any more money to give you. So we got to make sense of the 1.7, okay? Let me ask you a question. It's $80,000 per month, 17 locations. I could make sense per location, but I'm not going to try to do that with you, sir, because you're a professional. At the end of the day, you're looking at how much it's going to cost you over 3 years, not one day. See, I'm selling the whole thing, not a little thing. Most people would try to sell a little thing. I want a big problem, not a little problem. And in fact, sir, let me just tell you, this isn't going to be a 3-year deal. It's going to be like 10 years before I change my technology. So this isn't going to be $1.7 million. It's going to be more like $5.4 million over the period, the life of the time you spend and invest money with me. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you spent $5 million? By the way, my deal's 1.8. When's the last time you spent $5 million? I increased the problem. Increase the problem so you can make sense of this one, okay? The 1.8. This is our target right here, all right? The Inquisition, I'm at $1.8 million, and I'm going to tell them, look, you're going to end up spending 5.4 with me. You're obligated to this. My goal is to get you here. He's going to have a problem with this. So you guys just don't have the backbone. You know why? Because you haven't developed it yet. Let me ask you a question. How would you justify, first time I used the H word, how could you possibly justify $5.4 million with anyone on anything? That's the question you want to ask. The guy looked at me and says, well, dude, look, like if your deal works at all, if I only sell another 50 deals a month at 17 locations, he's breaking it down. I don't have to. Anytime you negotiate, always write it down. If it comes out of your face, make sure they're writing it down or you're writing it down. If I'm over the phone and I'm negotiating with somebody on the phone, I'm always going to do this. Do you have a pencil handy? I have a guy, he wants to invest money in my deal. He says, how does your deal work? How do I get paid? Do you have a pencil handy? Write this down. How much money are you going to give me first of all? Well, I don't know. Okay, but if you did know, how much money would you give me so that I can tell you how much money I'm going to pay you? Ask hard questions. Okay, how much money do you have, dude? How much money do you have in the bank? How liquid are you? If you knew you were going to make 2 or 3 times your money, how much money could you give me tonight before we hang up the phone? You're like, man, I'm not even close to that kind of energy. I'm not being argumentative. I'm asking him a simple question. You want to know what I'm going to pay you. I'm going to explain it to you. Write this down, okay? So he says, well, I got 500 grand I can give you right now. Oh, he's already thinking. I'm using the question to get to his money. 500 grand, good. Write the 500 down, multiply times 6%. That's 30,000 a year, and I'm gonna have them write all it down. It doesn't become real until people can write it down. You guys that aren't taking notes, you're trying to keep all this stuff in your head. That's why stuff doesn't work for you. Because you get this idea, that idea, and you never learn enough. The way I learned this was I practiced over and over. Anytime I learned something that worked, I'd write it down. I experimented. I'm like a lab man. What's the laboratory guy? The scientist, a biologist. When it comes to negotiating, I'm like, my whole life depends on the negotiations. Now, by the way, I didn't get that deal. Just to be completely transparent, it doesn't always work, but at least I was in the game swinging. You have to believe in somebody other than yourself, okay? If you want to build confidence, you don't just stand in a mirror and say, I'm going to be confident. Particularly when you're negotiating, okay? We've been told not to do this. So if you want to build confidence, you have to find someone that you believe in, and you need to become like them. Jared does not build confidence in his head. Jared watches me on deals, and his job is to be like, I'm going to try that strategy Grant just did. Now, if I ask you right now to repeat the 3 strategies I gave you, this is the problem with information. I talk about this all the time. You guys don't need information, you need to know. Number 4, let me show you some more techniques. For those of you I gotta see everything you got, dog. I got 30 years of this content sitting here, man. I've been for 30 years collecting data. 30 years looking at deals. I've been on billions of dollars worth of deals. And I look at the mistakes I made, when I walked away, what I should have got. Oh, I should have done this. Here's the one thing. This is called the one thing. If you've ever followed my information, I always say, no one thing will ever blow a deal. Don't confuse that with what I'm about to tell you. No deal does not close because more than one thing. Okay, now this might sound confusing to you. One thing, me doing one thing cannot cause Francisco to want to not do business with me. When we come to the end of the deal, whether I'm the buyer trying to buy from him or I'm the seller trying to sell to him, all negotiations come down to 4 things. Only one thing matters. There's never an exception to this, ever. It is never 2 things. It's never 1.5 things. It's never 3 things. It's one thing, and your job is to get to the one thing. Those one things, it's either product, time, stall, or money, 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 money. It's called the PTSM syndrome. Is it the product? Is it the time? Is it a stall? Another hard question, by the way. Can add it to your list of inquisition negotiation questions. Is it a stall or is it money, price, or term? Product. I'm not sure about the product. Maybe they have another product they like better. You have to find that out. You got to pull the strings on this deal. It's like the kitten in the yarn. It gets all bungled up and you got to keep pulling the string out. Pull, pull, pull. And you can either pull too tight. This is what I was talking about with our guys today. You pull too tight and you get a knot. Pull, pull, pull. And then all of a sudden you find that one string and the little knot comes apart and the whole thing straightens out. It's one thing, it's one knot, one problem, one issue. Most of the time as you take notes, they will not give you the one thing the first time. Most of the time they're going to throw the red herring. They're going to tell you it's the product when the truth is it's the money. They're going to tell you the money when it's the product. They're going to tell you it's the time when that's just a stall. They're going to stall you when it's really the product. Look, these are all freaking bundled up. And your job is to figure out which one it is. And you're going to ask this question. What is the one thing holding you up right now? The one thing that if I fixed it right now, you're like, I'm in. The one thing and the only thing. Well, it's really this and this and this. Okay, great. But if it was just one thing, what would it be? One thing. Well, Grant, the deal is, okay, you're going to probably have to ask this question. Just like that piece of yarn, you're going to have to pull at this thing lightly. Also, on the stalls, on the PT, on the S, this one right here, you can almost guarantee whatever they tell you here. I need to wait for taxes. I got to wait for Bob. I got to wait for the committee. You can almost guarantee that's really one of these 3 and not this one. Okay, the stall, really there's only 3. The stalls are either the product, the timing, or the money. Money is what? Price, terms, contracts, down payment, monthly payments, obligation, interest rate, the lease, whatever the term is. There's only so many things that can be. So you want to break this down. What is it? Which one of these things? So you want to get down to that one. If there was one bothering you, it's the money, it's the price, and the terms. If there was one I had to fix that would make everything okay, what would it be? This is the one thing, okay? How many things can blow your deal? No one thing can blow a deal. How many things can hang a deal up? Only one. Number 5 is the selfish child. The selfish child is a neurotic, right? Like you got to literally to make this one work, you got to be a little wacko. You cannot make sense of their logic. When you're negotiating, there's only one logic that matters. Now, this is going to sound really crazy to a lot of people when you hear this. I never make sense of their logic, ever. I have a rule when I'm negotiating. No matter what they say and how much sense it might make, I never make sense of it. I never support their case. Jared's seen me do this 1,000 times. He calls it my Cajun math. It's a Cajun think, right? I'm like, dude, look, I'm not making sense of his story. I'm making sense of my story. I make sense of my story and I only make sense of my story, okay? The only story that matters to me is the story I'm telling. I'll tell you, I was negotiating a real estate deal. The bank came in, San Diego National Bank, comes in at the end of the deal. This was a loan for $42 million. And they said, hey man, we need you to buy $250,000. I think it wasn't even much, $250,000 worth of insurance. I said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I need more insurance. Yeah, we noticed you only have $70,000. Yeah, I need more insurance. What am I doing right now? What technique is that? White flag. Yeah, dude, I need more insurance. I agree with you. It's a great idea. I understand that. And by the way, I'd love to have more insurance. I'm sure Elena would like to have more insurance. You guys should want me to have more insurance. But let me be clear about something. If you got some kind of idea that I'm paying for the insurance, that won't be happening, ever. You want the insurance, you pay for it. It doesn't benefit me, and they freaked. They lost their minds. Well, Grant, we have to have it insured. We have to have a loan insured. You know, you got to have more insurance if something happened to you. I'm like, hey, look, I totally agree with you. Doesn't benefit me. I'm not paying for it. If I believed in insurance, I would have more. You didn't say it when you laid it out. And you're probably right, by the way. What is that? It's the white flag again. I'm combining the white flag with logic. I'm not buying it. I don't need it for me. It's not for me. It's for you. You want it. You pay for it. We have to have the $250 insurance. Good. How much is it? I forget what the number was. Good. It's no money. He's like, yeah, Grant, what's the big deal? If it's no money, you pay for it. This is completely one-sided. It's selfish. You literally have to become, this is what Trump calls the, what is the reality he does? Created reality, his reality. No, not augmented, but you got to create your own reality here. Oh, by the way, that's what everybody's doing anyway. Some guy that sat, and I'm moving into another technique right now, but see, when you learn the techniques, you don't do them as individuals. You start like blending things together. Some guy sat in a boardroom. There was probably 8 people there. They're going around, yeah, we approve the loan. Yeah, we approve the loan. So all these loans go through approval. These big loans, all of them go through a board. There's never one guy making that decision typically at $42 million. There's a board that has the ability to make an approval. So there's a bunch of guys sitting around, and they're like, yeah. Did you check this? Did you check that? There's only maybe 2 smart people there, and everybody else is just like, yeah. They're just there. It's filters, right? So you got to know that's what's going on at the bank. That's why like programs like I'm offering you tonight are so valuable, because when you get into business, nobody tells you that's what's going on when you get a loan. I thought somebody was just punching a piece of paper, okay? My first 3 loans, I didn't know this is what happened behind the scenes. And then the 5th or 6th guy comes around and says, how much insurance does he have? Oh, by the way, he probably has a ton of it, but he's worth nothing. How much insurance does he have? They do the research, 70 grand. We should get him to buy more insurance. This is how this whole thing came up. So now I got to tell this one guy, hey, brother, you need to go back to them, because I know this isn't you. Guy's name was Mike Sabri. I said, Mike, I know this isn't you, dude. I'm not buying it. I'm not paying for it. We will kill the deal. The deal will be over with, okay? You guys will not be able to make a loan on the deal. By the way, you've spent a bunch of money. You've already appraised the property. You already got fees. You have the board saying they want to do the debt. I've done this a number of times to banks, life companies, big financial institutions. There's a thing in every deal, okay? You have to know where you're at on time. Time either benefits you or benefits the seller in every deal. You got to decide where you are. You're the buyer or the seller. Which one are you, okay? If I'm the buyer and I'm right here, I have total control. Total 100% control of every transaction that ever takes place in the world. The buyer has 100% control in the last moments of a deal. I'll be talking about that in a second. You have to be asking yourself in a deal, when I was in this deal, we had 7 days to close. They're asking about the life insurance. They missed it early. Some guy came up with it late. I said, dude, I'm not paying for the insurance. I knew for sure, 100% certainty, no matter how much they threatened me to take back this loan, I knew for sure they would eat that insurance. And they did, by the way. Check this out. Check this part of the story out. Not only did they buy my insurance, but 37 months later, that bank went under because they gave loans to people that couldn't pay. I never missed one payment with that bank. The bank went down. They lost the entire bank. The bank collapsed in 2009. New bank came in. I never missed one payment on my loan. And by the way, I'm still alive today. Number 6, this is called ground zero. This is when a deal failed. When negotiations start to fail, you want to bring the other party back to zero. Let me say I'm trying to hire somebody. He's making $400 grand a year. Somebody here asked him what he's making, because we always want to know that. Hey, dude, what are you making now? $400. Why are you leaving? Don't like it anymore. No more opportunity. Somebody in my office said, dude, we got to match the $400. I said, no, you don't, dude. He's going to zero. You don't chase what he's leaving. See, this is somebody that gets a little piece of data and gets stuck on it. You get hung up on the data. Oh, I got to go chase the 400. He's leaving the 400. You have to show him that he's going to zero. If I'm walking out of a deal at $4 million, I brought this up earlier, and the deal is going to fail. Remember what I said about the timeline earlier? The timeline right here At the end of the deal, this deal could fail right here, and I'm in a position as a buyer. The buyer has total control of the negotiations at the end of that deal. Let me share another situation with you, okay? Oh, by the way, this guy came on for a lot less money than $400. Once we explained to him, dude, you're not making $400 anymore. You're leaving a job. Anybody shopping for a job is leaving a job. Let me give you a more complex situation, okay? I have a deal. I'm negotiating a deal. I'm not going to use names here. I've been doing business with this group a long time. We've both made a lot of money out of it. I'm making probably $30 million a year. That company's making about $3 million. At some point in the deal, I'm like, hey, this deal worked for a while. This deal doesn't work right now. There's some other complications. You're like, well, what didn't work? I'm a negotiator. I have to continue to get good deals. The deal has to be good. So when you made a deal in the past that is no longer good today, a lot of you out there get confused. I made a deal. I agreed to do something. Dude, you made a deal that was good 7 years ago that's no longer good today. It's not a good deal. Oh, but my daddy taught me that I got to do whatever I agreed on. Dude, if this deal changed over time and it became bad for either party, listen to what I'm telling you right now. Everybody watching right now will learn. I promise you right now, you're like, dude, I've been in that deal. You thought because you are honest, John, or you're ethical, I have to stay with the deal. You never should stay with a bad deal. Listen to what I'm telling you. Never, ever, ever stay with a bad deal. You got to renegotiate that deal. Why? If it's bad for A, then it's bad for B. If it's bad for me now, if something changed over time, you got to bring this guy back to ground zero. Ground zero is, hey man, we got to have a talk, bro. This deal is no longer good for me. This is renegotiating contracts. You will have to do it in your career. Okay? You will, listen to me, you will have to use this in your lifetime. You negotiate to zero. That's where you start the deal from. You have to negotiate to zero and go to the person and say, hey, we got a situation. This is very difficult for people to do because so many of us have been brought up to be honest. So how do I do this? Okay, this is extremely emotional. Everybody gets very emotional. How do I do this without people getting emotional right now? Because it's going to get tweaked. Everybody's going to freak. So look, you got to bring the guy to this. Hey man, look, the deal right now was negotiated at X. The only way it makes sense is it's got to be X minus Y. Yeah, but. What's the first rule I gave you tonight? Spock out, dog. You got to spock out. Yeah, dude, I know. What's the second thing I gave you? The white flag. You're right, man. I made a good deal then. That's no longer any good. Time has changed our deal. It's the stream, not the rock. The stream has changed time. I made a deal. It's been a good deal. I want to keep doing that deal. By the way, I want to keep doing that. Surrender, white flag. I'd love to keep doing that. Bang, 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 bang. Here's why I can't. Okay? And I would keep doing that if you could do bang, 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 bang. But you haven't proven that you can do that. You said you could, but you haven't. So this is what we got to do right now. We got a couple choices. How many times have I used choices today? In every negotiations, you want to use alternatives. Every one of them. Ground zero is one of the choices. Hey, dude, ground zero is this. You don't get any more money, and I don't get any more money. Okay? Now I'm going to bring you to something else because again, I said to you, you see these as separate. I don't. I see this as a story we tell people. I see this as a story that we move through. We weave them all together, right? So when you go with a professional fisher, the guy's putting lures together, stringing them, sending them out. Dude, it's like everything's like, if you try to do that, or a cook, a great cook, if you know a great cook, they're like, and there's no mess in the kitchen. You do the same thing, the whole place is destroyed. This is called role reversal. When you do this right here, you got to go into role reversal. Okay, the role reversal. When you're in a deal and you went to ground zero, you need to go into role reversal. You got nothing else to do, dude. Just give me the data. Let's stay in calm now. Let's me and you talk, all right? Okay? So this is called role reversal. I'm A and he's B. I'm taking a guy to ground zero. When you take a guy to ground zero, you're going to combine these two. This thing is going to get explosive. It's going to get emotional. It's going to get ugly. Play out the cost repercussions to the other party. You got to go through what it's going to cost them. Now, I'm not going to get into the role reversal on that particular deal because then everybody would know what that deal is. But what I want to show you is the role reversal. This is walk a mile in somebody else's shoes or something. I'm doing a deal for $4.5 million right now. It's a small, little tiny deal. I need to renegotiate that deal to $3 million. Somebody's going to take a haircut for $1.5 million. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot of money on $4 million, but it is 30%. It's a huge, huge hit. He thinks he's in for the 4.5. Literally, he's like, I'm good. I know he can sell for 3. I know for sure he can sell for 3. He'll live on. Everything will be fine. The world's not going to come to an end. I can buy his deal. He can sell his deal. Nobody's gonna die of starvation here. So check it out. How am I gonna do this? Sneaky back note. I could buy the deal for 4.5 and live to it. Or I can negotiate for 3 and save myself $1.5 million. And when I go to sell the contract, I'd be guaranteed to make more money. Now the question is, what should I do? I'm paying more than I should pay. I found out some other stuff about the marketplace. I want this thing that I'm buying. I want it. I really do want it, okay? It would solve some problems I have. Unfortunately, the seller does not have the negotiating capacity, skills, and training that I do, that you do now. I know he doesn't have them. He's just gonna rest on the numbers. He's gonna try to tell me why it should bring that. He shouldn't do that. You should never make sense of your case if you wanna win the case. Because the second that you start trying to make sense of that number, I'm gonna use anything and everything you say against you. Well, Grant, oh yeah, really, I'm glad you said that. Because every piece of ammo he gives me right now, I'm gonna destroy him with and start justifying why the $1.5 million has to come off, okay? First of all, let me just bring you to ground zero. Ground zero is what? You get nothing, I get nothing. You walk away, I walk away. You start over. Now, what you want to do is move into the role reversal. The role reversal is where, look, here's what happens now. You have to sit down, like I'm an expert at this. I am able to leave my body and become him in the deal. And I get to think, okay, if I don't do this deal, but again, this is the back strategies of business deals. A funnel will not solve this problem for you. You guys getting Instagram followers will not solve this problem, okay? You guys spending money on advertising will not solve this problem. You guys learning to become great public speakers will not solve the problem that we're dealing with right now. You guys that want to write books, the money you get from Penguin is going to be determined by how you negotiate the deal. Whether you get $100,000 to speak on stage or no money to speak on stage will be determined by whether or not you can negotiate your deal, not how many Instagram followers you guys got. You guys are investing money in stuff that doesn't even matter most of the time. What I'm gonna do is find out if we walk to zero, if we go to zero, I'm gonna make a list of everything that he gets affected by it, not me. You have to literally leave your body, get in his shoes, and say, okay, what happens? There's like 8 spots right here that I worked out in his mind, okay, that happened to him as a result of this deal going to zero. They will be so painful that it wouldn't cost him $1.5 million. It's gonna cost him probably $5 million, not to mention headaches, problems, concerns, fears, stress, marriage problems. That's called the role reversal. And if you're not doing it to other people, it's being done to you. Because watch what happens. When I do this and become the other guy, I'm not in my own stress anymore. I'm freaking experiencing his problem. And my power in the negotiations gets stronger. I'm no longer worried about what I'm losing. I'm making sense of what happens to him. It's called leverage, right? I need leverage in the deal, okay? Who's got the leverage? A is up here, B is down here. The more I can swing that leverage, that's why I said to you earlier, I'm just being straight up with you. The win-win thing, win-win, we got to win-win negotiate. Dude, there's always a loser in the deal, always. Somebody always loses something, don't kid yourself. A seesaw works like this. When he goes down, he bumps his ass in the real world. When he goes down, he bumps his little ass. That's what life is about, bumping your ass, bumping your ass. I bump my ass, he bumps his ass. I just want to get off the damn seesaw and have some money in my pocket. Get into a nice car, made a nice deal in the car, don't lose too much money in the car, and drive to my house that I didn't get ripped off for by the banco. I'm going to show you what's called the first base. What does first base mean? Got to get to first base, man. This is when you create a negotiations where there isn't one. You're pushing negotiations forward where there is no interest. This is great for off-market real estate. I just bought a deal. I just bought 2 deals, actually. $120 million worth of real estate. $120 million. Neither one of them were on the market. I got to first base on both of them with sellers that said they weren't sellers, couldn't be sellers, wouldn't be sellers, and I bought both deals. I know one of the 2 deals I think I can sell for $120 million by itself. That's because I got to first base. I got to first base with my wife, okay? First base has been used for years, man. You got to get on base. You don't need to hit a home run every time. I'll give you another example. I started a business with a partner. The guy's in Orlando. I'm like, dude, I got to get this guy on first base. We're doing a partnership with a group right now. We're actually going to have 500 partners around the country, and then we're going to go to 2,500, then we're going to go to 5,000. So we're looking for partners. Create a partnership with this guy. I've done this a couple times now. When I create a partnership, I put in $50,000 for this deal. It's paid me $10 million a year. The company's made $10 million a year for, 17 years. The investment was 50 grand. The gig was, how do I get to first base with this guy, get this guy's attention? Sherry works for me, I had to get first base with her. My wife I had to get to first base with. Dude, all the good deals you got to get to first base on, okay? I had to get his 50 grand back as fast as I could. I put the 50 grand in, I had to get it back for him because the faster I can get it back for him, the faster he wins. We just started a partnership with a group and we gave him a target of $1 million. As soon as we did the deal, they left. They walked out, signed the contract. I said, Jared, we got to get them to 1 million as fast as we possibly can. Why? Because I need to get the guy on first base, second base, third base, and around the bases. He's my partner. If your partners don't win, you lose. Let me share this with you. Now we're going to go to the land of Genghis Khan. I don't know if I should even share this. Well, let me tell you why I'm going to share it with you. Because if you don't use it, it will be used against you.